I'm gonna stand up this week because that shows passion.
And make things better by working together. It's a simple message.
So last year, the Arthur Reed Twitter account tweeted out asking for episode ideas for the show. So of course, I'm freaking out because how cool would that be? I wanna help save this show that I used to watch every weekday at 5 p.m. Okay, I can't save the animation, but at least I can maybe suggest some possible story ideas, okay, to keep it afloat. I can't do everything. Look, I know Arthur, okay? There used to be a 100-question Arthur quiz on the PBS Kids website, and I would get every single question right except for the questions about the Backstreet Boys episode, because like I wasn't allowed to watch that one, or the South Park episode.
Hello up there! Hey, I'm talking to you!
I'm talking about taking it back to the days before Vance Legstrong, who later became just Lance Armstrong. Like, come on, if you're gonna tell a joke, at least commit. We're talking the classic episodes, okay? Arthur Locked in the Library, Lost, Binky Rules, That's a Baby Show, Arthur's Faraway Friend, Arthur Makes a Movie, Arthur's TV Free Week. I don't have those memorized, are you kidding me? But I can go on, I have more. Like, I'm not even kidding you when I tell you this. And I probably honestly shouldn't tell you this, is pretty embarrassing. It worked though, it worked out for me. I have not admitted this to anybody except for my closest of friends, but so a couple years ago, I'm in college, right? I'm so busy writing papers. It's the end of the semester. I'm just writing away. I don't even have time for anything. But on the side, I'm finding time to plan and write this Arthur series of like Buster and Arthur in the college years. It was actually gonna be a pretty dark series, honestly. But I spent an embarrassing amount of time on this. So the end of the semester rolls around, and as a creative writing minor, I had to read a story that I authored in front of the entire English department. Okay, this was my senior dissertation, my final and most important project of my entire college career. I didn't know what to write on. I had no idea. I was creatively spent. It was the end of the semester. I'm tired. But then boom, I had this brilliant idea. Change the names. In the Arthur story that I had written, what if I just changed the names of Arthur and Buster to something more normal and used that to read in front of everyone? What was I thinking? Like, so that's what I did. I straight up used find and replace and then triple checked. Of course, I added on to the story and changed some things like how it ended and stuff, but like overall, it was literally an Arthur story that I read in front of the entire department. And you know what? They absolutely loved it. It was one of my professor's favorite stories that I had written in my entire college career, which was a lot coming from him. I'll tell you that. Hey, this is Editing Jordan here. So in editing what you just watched, I realized that it could maybe be taken that I blatantly ripped off of Arthur, but that's not true at all. My college year's story basically just acted as the initial inspiration for what my final project actually became. It became something very different, like for instance, Arthur would never unintentionally kill Buster. The characters of Arthur and Buster were not even recognizable as those two characters when I was done with it. It's called a prompt. So anyways, in my response to Arthur's desperate cry for help on Twitter, alone in his room, I came up with a few suggestions. And I submitted one of them, so who can know? Maybe it'll be in an episode. That would be cool. That would change my life. Here are 3 Arthur episodes that they should make. Idea 1, and this is actually the idea that I tweeted to Arthur himself, but it's entitled Emergency Landing. For those of you who don't know, Buster Baxter's parents are divorced, and his father flies around the world as an airplane pilot, and therefore Buster loves to fly. So here's my idea playing on that. In this episode, Emergency Landing, Buster's dad's plane experiences technical difficulties while he's piloting, and therefore has to perform an unplanned landing at the nearest airport. Even though he's perfectly safe, when Buster finds out about the news back at home, he begins to have a very real and uncharacteristic fear of planes. Nightmares ensue, the classic Buster nightmares that we all love. But by the end of the episode, Buster learns of the safety of airplanes, how they're the safest form of transportation. Idea 2, and I really like this idea, it's called DW Goes Viral. The episode starts with Arthur comfortably on the computer watching videos on a website like YouTube. It's obvious this is a regular occurrence. DW walks in holding a doll, and as usual, wants Arthur to play with her, but as usual, Arthur gets annoyed, tells her she plays baby games, and avoids her. So DW, realizing Arthur would would rather watch videos than play with her, tells him in a fit of rage that she's going to make videos on the internet that everyone will watch, and then everyone will want to play with her. Unlike her sorry brother, then he'll learn. He mockingly laughs and brushes it off. But DW follows through with her threat, making videos of herself just playing with her dolls in the dollhouse in her room. And surprisingly, she starts getting tons of views. Her channel starts to blow up, and everyone in Elwood City seems to be watching her videos, and to Arthur's dismay, even some of his friends like Francine and Buster bashfully admit to watching her from time to time, while others, like Binky and shockingly, Mr. Ratburn, are super fans. The newspapers write articles about her overnight success, and the TV news station even interviews her at the house while a long line of fans wait to meet the new celebrity. All while this craziness is going on, Arthur refuses to watch a baby show like DW's and tries to talk his friends out of watching her show as well. But one night, when everyone is asleep, Arthur caves, sneaking downstairs to watch one of her videos on the computer. In the video, he watches as DW plays house with her dolls and toys. He's annoyed when it seems to be just meaningless play, but when he realizes that the story she's telling is of a lonely, neglected girl who just wants her brother to include her in things from time to time, he feels regretful and even ashamed. The next day, Arthur musters the courage to talk with DW. He goes up to her bedroom where she's setting up her dollhouse for a video, and he apologizes to her for not ever wanting to play with her, and tells her that he'll help her with her videos if she wants. He even says he'll play one of the doll characters. DW is elated with the news and hands him a doll to play with. They start to play, and the episode ends with Arthur and DW playing together in the dollhouse, but as they're having fun and as time elapses without them even realizing, the audience is shown that DW's video camera was never turned on, insinuating that the camera will never be turned on again. I would just love to see that episode. DW being a viral YouTuber, that would be hilarious. The next episode idea I didn't write as much on, you're welcome, but I think it could be really cool. It's called My Cousin Taylor. Now this idea might sound strange and far-fetched at first, but just know that there's already precedent within the Arthur series of Arthur's friends having strange relational connections to famous musicians and people like that. In the season 4 episode entitled My Music Rules, it's revealed that Francine's mother's second cousin twice removed is Joshua Redman, who is a famous jazz saxophonist and composer, I'm told. Thanks, Wikipedia.
This is my uncle Joshua Redman. He plays jazz.
Not to mention, Mr. Rogers is a longtime friend of Arthur's mom, Jane Reed.
You know, if I'm feeling mad or sad or glad about something, I try to tell somebody about it.
And there's been countless guest stars throughout the years. So what I'm about to say is definitely not out of the realm of possibility. In My Cousin Taylor, the biggest concert in Elwood City history is coming into town for a person that Buster has a secret connection to. Buster has never told anyone that his distant cousin is actually Taylor Swift. So when she comes into town, he's determined to not have his friends find out. However, after Taylor Swift gifts Buster and all of his friends with not only tickets, but also backstage passes for before the show, Buster realizes that the truth will inevitably come out. Buster never wanted to tell his friends because he didn't want them to pester him and treat him differently because he's related to someone famous. He also didn't know how to tell them about his cousin when they treat her like she isn't a person, but rather just a feelingless celebrity. When they finally meet Taylor before the concert and they all realize the truth, Buster has to explain himself. Through their conversation with Buster and Taylor Swift, they all learn that even if you're famous, you're still a person with feelings and should be treated that way. They learn that fame doesn't make someone untouchable and unhuman. That one might be a little bit of a stretch, but I mean, come on, who doesn't want Taylor Swift to be a bunny rabbit in Elwood City? Also, mad props to Sarcastic Leaves for drawing that and tweeting it to me. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that the new episodes of Arthur are terrible or anything, but what I am saying is that something feels different about them as compared to like the original seasons, which obviously the show is 20 years old, it's going to evolve and change, I get that, but there's just something off about it. And if you've watched it, you know what I'm talking about. From the little I've watched of the new episodes, and yes, I do turn it on from time to time just to see how the show is turning out, okay? Why do I care so much? I don't know. But from what I've seen, it feels like a kid's show now. And of course, I'm a lot older now, so I'm gonna have a different perspective, I understand. But I can watch the old episodes of Arthur, and I don't get that same feeling. It doesn't necessarily feel like just a kid's show. Now, with what I'm about to say, I'm not in any way comparing Arthur and Pixar, but the best example that I can come up with is when you watch a Pixar movie for the first time. You don't walk out of the theater thinking, I mean, that was a kid's movie. It might be aimed at a younger audience, but when you're watching it, you can see that it is, but at the same time in some way, you can't. You're watching the story and you're engaged in a way that's surprising to you, yet expected. You can see the moral and the point and the why, but it's never at the expense of the story itself. They interwove the moral so well with the story and the characters that it just works, and you leave the theater thinking, wow, that was a great movie. That's kind of how I feel about the earlier years of Arthur. Not so much, not to some crazy extent, but I mean, that's just kind of getting the point across. You know what I mean. But now the moral and the point and the why of a new Arthur episode is generally pretty easy to sniff out from the get-go, and it feels like most everything is artificially orchestrated in some way that takes you out of the story and characters, and obviously directs and points you to the point of the episode, which in my opinion just is not very effective. So Arthur Reed, if you're out there somehow watching this right now,
but I bet there's one thing we'd all want on a desert island.
I still believe in you. I still believe in Elwood City. I don't even care if you use my stupid video ideas. I really don't. I just want to feel a connection again. That sounds really creepy, but it's true. But most importantly, I want you to live long enough so that my kids can enjoy your city as much as I did growing up. Anyways, that got strangely sentimental there at the end. See ya. Arthur Reed, please hire me.